Hello, miladies of inestimable value. The kindest hearts often belong to those who have suffered the most, but they never talk about it. Sigma females are not your typical nice girls. They don't perform kindness for applause, nor do they use empathy as a social currency. In fact, they often move through life like ghosts, unnoticed yet unforgettable, distant yet deeply connected. Here's a fact. Studies show that people who experience deep solitude develop heightened emotional intelligence, and Sigma females are living proof. They've spent years observing, analyzing, and decoding human nature from the shadows. They don't just understand people, they anticipate them. But here's the twist. This kindness isn't soft. It's not the fragile, delicate kind you see in rom-coms. No, a Sigma female's kindness is a quiet force, sharp-edged and unwavering, shaped by hardship and honed by resilience. She will heal you, challenge you, and sometimes she'll leave you stunned by how much she understands you, often better than you understand yourself. And just when you think you've figured her out, she'll disappear into the wind, leaving you wondering if she was even real. Welcome to the world of the most kind and empathic humans, but don't mistake them for saints. They're something far more powerful. Number 1. They understand pain too deeply to inflict it on others. Sigma females have experienced pain so deeply that it has fundamentally reshaped them. They know what it's like to be ignored when they needed help, to be misunderstood when they tried to explain themselves, and to be left alone in moments of their greatest struggle. They've been burned by betrayal, disappointed by the people they once trusted, and have had to pick up their own shattered pieces without anyone to guide them. This isn't just emotional pain, it's soul-deep suffering that leaves scars invisible to the world. But here's the paradox. Instead of becoming bitter, they become even more compassionate. They don't lash out. They don't pass their pain on to others. They refuse to let the world's cruelty make them cruel in return. They don't believe in punishing people for their ignorance or their mistakes. Instead, they show a level of understanding that is almost unnerving. They can recognize pain in others because they've lived it, and that recognition forces them to act differently. While others respond to weakness with judgment or indifference, Sigma females respond with patience, depth, and a kind of quiet support that feels almost unnatural in a world so obsessed with self-interest. Their kindness isn't performative. They don't advertise it, and they certainly don't expect anything in return. If they help you, it's because they genuinely want to, not because they're trying to earn your approval. This is why people often don't realize just how much a Sigma female has done for them until much later. They offer guidance, protection, and warmth without making a spectacle of it. They don't just extend a hand when someone is drowning, they teach them how to swim. But don't mistake their kindness for weakness. They are not naive, and they see through manipulation instantly. They know when they're being used, and they know when someone's pain is real. They will give endlessly to those who are truly struggling, but the moment they sense entitlement or deceit, they walk away without hesitation. Their empathy is deep, but it is not limitless. It is reserved for those who truly need it, not those who merely want to take advantage of it. Number 2, they're invisible guardians of the broken. There are people who announce their kindness like a brand campaign, loud, attention-seeking, and always in search of validation. They want to be seen as heroes, as saviors, as the ones who care the most. Sigma females, they couldn't be more different. They don't need an audience to do the right thing. They don't perform empathy for likes, praise, or admiration. In fact, most of the time, no one even realizes what they've done, except for the person they helped. Sigma females have an uncanny ability to detect silent suffering. They pick up on the shifts in energy, the subtle cracks in someone's voice, the way a person forces a smile, even when their eyes betray them. They don't need you to say, "I'm not okay." They already know. And without making a scene, without making you feel weak or pitied, they step in. Maybe they offer words at just the right moment. Maybe they show up when no one else does. Maybe they simply let you exist beside them without pressure until you're ready to speak. Whatever form it takes, their kindness is discreet but life-altering. They do this for strangers too. They'll notice the overwhelmed single mother struggling with her groceries and quietly lend a hand. They'll recognize the exhausted cashier who's had a long day and show them a rare moment of genuine warmth. They understand that sometimes even the smallest act of kindness can stop someone from falling apart. But they don't stick around for gratitude. In fact, most people never even realize they were saved from the edge by a Sigma female, and that's how they prefer it. They aren't here to be worshipped or idolized. They don't want a spotlight on their kindness. They just want to be the kind of person they once needed when they were breaking. This is what makes their empathy different. It's not loud, it's not exaggerated, and it's not for show. It's quiet, instinctive, and deeply, deeply real. Number 3. They read energy, not words. Sigma. Females don't rely on words to understand people. In fact, they trust words the least. Words can be rehearsed, manipulated, or forced. People say they're fine when they're breaking, they laugh when they're hurting, and they pretend they don't care when they're dying inside. Sigma females see straight through that. They read energy. They notice the way someone's breathing changes when they're uncomfortable. They pick up on the slight hesitation before a fake smile. They sense when someone is holding back tears, even if that person has mastered the art of hiding pain. It's not something they try to do, it's just how they're wired. This makes them unsettling to some people. The world is filled with those who are used to masking their emotions, who have spent years perfecting their facades. Then along comes a Sigma female, who sees through it effortlessly. She doesn't need you to tell her you're struggling, she already knows. And while this might make some uncomfortable for those who truly need help, it's a rare and powerful gift. Sigma females won't force you to talk. They won't pry, interrogate, or demand an explanation. Instead, they adjust. If they sense you need space, they give it. If they feel you need a distraction, they provide it. If they know you're breaking but can't say it out loud, they make it okay to just be. Their kindness isn't loud or overbearing, it's instinctive, tailored to what you need in that moment, even when you don't know it yourself. Because of this, people often find themselves opening up to Sigma females without even realizing it. Their presence feels safe, unpressured, and free from judgment. And when they do speak, their words carry weight, not because they're trying to fix everything, but because they understand more than they say. This is what makes their empathy so rare. They don't listen just to respond. They don't need dramatic confessions to recognize pain. They simply feel it and they act. Not for attention, not for praise, but because it's just who they are. Number 4, they feel others' pain as if it were their own. Sigma. Females don't just understand other people's pain, they absorb it. It seeps into them like water into dry earth, filling the cracks with emotions that aren't even theirs. This isn't a choice, it's an instinct. They don't just sympathize from a distance or nod along with a sad story. They feel everything. When someone around them is anxious, their own heart races. When someone is grieving, they carry the weight of that sorrow in their chest. Even if they barely know the person, they can't shut off the overwhelming flood of emotions that hit them like a storm. It's not a matter of putting themselves in someone else's shoes. It's as if they're wearing them, walking every agonizing step. This depth of empathy isn't just mental or emotional, it's physical. A Sigma female can lose sleep over someone else's suffering. She can feel physically drained after being around someone who's in deep distress. She might walk away from a conversation with a heavy heart, feeling pain she didn't have before. And yet, despite the toll it takes on her, she doesn't turn away from it. Most people run from pain that isn't their own. They avoid difficult conversations, offer empty platitudes, or change the subject when things get too heavy. Sigma females do the opposite. They lean in even when it hurts. They take on emotions that aren't theirs, not because they want to, but because they can't stand to let someone suffer alone. But this comes at a cost. Feeling everything so deeply can be exhausting. Sigma females often carry burdens that don't belong to them, feeling drained without knowing why. This is why they disappear sometimes, not because they don't care, but because they need to breathe in silence to release emotions that were never theirs to begin with. Yet, even with the weight of the world pressing on them, they never harden. They never stop feeling, never stop caring, never stop giving. Because, at their core, they know. If they can ease someone's suffering, even for a moment, then the pain they carry is worth it. Number 5. They carry the weight of others' emotions, even when it drains them. Sigma females don't just witness other people's emotions, they carry them. It's not something they consciously choose to do, nor is it something they can easily stop. They absorb energy like a sponge, taking in the sorrow, frustration, and unspoken pain of those around them. It's an invisible burden, one that few ever notice they're holding. They can be in a room full of people and instantly feel the tension, the hidden grief, the silent cries behind forced laughter. They don't need to be told when something is wrong, they know. And without hesitation they take on some of that weight, easing the burden for others while adding to their own. This makes them a rare kind of comfort in a world where most people either ignore suffering or make it about themselves. A Sigma female doesn't rush to offer hollow advice or force toxic positivity. She doesn't tell you to stay strong or look on the bright side just to avoid discomfort. Instead, she steps into the darkness with you, quietly sharing the load. But this empathy is a double-edged sword. While it allows her to connect deeply with others, it also drains her in ways most will never understand. Carrying emotions that aren't hers can leave her feeling exhausted, mentally and physically. There are days when she feels an overwhelming heaviness and doesn't even know why, only to realize she's been carrying the sadness of everyone she's encountered. Yet, despite this, she refuses to turn cold. She could choose to shut it off, to stop feeling so much, to harden herself against the pain of others. But she won't, because she knows what it's like to suffer alone, to feel like no one truly understands. And if she can spare someone that loneliness, even at the cost of her own energy, she will. This is the unseen battle Sigma females fight every day. They carry burdens no one asks them to carry, feel emotions no one realizes they feel, and offer kindness they rarely receive in return. But still, they keep going. Not because it's easy, but because it's who they are. Number 6. They see through people's bullshit. But don't judge. Sigma females have an uncanny ability to see through people. It's not magic and it's not guesswork. It's pure observation. They pick up on inconsistencies, micro-expressions, and the subtle shifts in tone that most people miss. Someone can say all the right words, wear the perfect mask, and put on an Oscar-worthy performance, but a Sigma female will still see the cracks. They know when someone is lying. They can sense when a person is being fake, when compliments aren't genuine, when kindness is a transaction rather than a gift. They can spot manipulation a mile away, whether it's emotional games, guilt-tripping, or subtle power plays, and yet they don't judge. This is what sets them apart. Most people, when they see through someone's facade, immediately react with criticism or condemnation. Sigma females don't. They understand that most deception, arrogance, and manipulation come from a place of deep insecurity or past wounds. They see the brokenness behind the bravado, the fear behind the control, and the loneliness behind the lies. Instead of calling people out in a way that shames them, they let them reveal themselves at their own pace. They don't waste time exposing liars or humiliating manipulators. They simply choose not to engage. If someone is being deceitful, a Sigma female won't argue. She'll just distance herself. If someone is playing games, she won't play along. She'll walk away. She doesn't need to prove she's right or teach people a lesson. She knows who she is, and she refuses to lower herself to their level. But when she sees genuine struggle beneath the deception, she responds differently. If someone lashes out because they're hurting, she won't retaliate. If someone tries to manipulate out of fear, she won't take the bait, but she will understand. She knows that not everyone who acts badly is a bad person. Some are just lost, scared, or trying to survive the only way they know how. Her kindness isn't naivety, it's wisdom. She sees the truth about people, but instead of using it against them, she chooses to rise above it. Number 7. They don't just listen, they decode. When people speak, most only hear the words. Sigma females hear everything else. They listen in a way that makes people feel exposed, not because they're intrusive, but because their depth of perception is almost unsettling. Someone can tell them, "I'm fine," and they will instantly recognize the forced tone, the slight hesitation, the unspoken, "but I'm really not." They can have a casual conversation with someone, and by the end of it, understand their fears, insecurities, and emotional wounds, without that person ever explicitly saying a word. This is because Sigma females don't just process what is being said. They analyze why it's being said, how it's being said, and, most importantly, what's being left unsaid. The nervous laughter, the quick change of subject, the way someone avoids eye contact when discussing a certain topic, it all tells a story. And Sigma females are experts at reading between the lines. This ability makes them incredible confidants. People find themselves opening up to them without meaning to, drawn in by the rare feeling of being truly understood. A Sigma female won't interrupt with generic advice or stories about herself. She won't dismiss emotions or rush to fix things. Instead, she lets people be honest, even in their silence. She gives them the space to reveal their truth at their own pace. But this skill is also a double-edged sword. Because she deciphers emotions so effortlessly, she often sees what others wish to hide. She recognizes self-doubt disguised as arrogance, loneliness masked as independence, and pain covered by humor. This means she is rarely surprised by people's actions. She often knows what's coming before they do, yet, despite knowing so much, she never uses it against people. She doesn't expose their weaknesses or throw their vulnerabilities back at them. Instead, she simply understands. And sometimes that's all people need. Someone who can hear what they're not saying and still accept them anyway. Number 8. They operate outside the help me culture. The world is drowning in a help me culture, a society where people constantly look for someone to save them, fix them, or take responsibility for their struggles. Everyone wants a rescuer, someone to swoop in and make life easier. Sigma females? They don't play that game. They are natural helpers, but not in the way most people expect. They don't believe in coddling or hand-holding. If someone is struggling, they don't just offer comfort, they offer solutions. But those solutions always come with an expectation. You have to do the work yourself. Unlike people who enable dependency in the name of kindness, Sigma females empower others to stand on their own. If someone is drowning in self-pity, they won't validate it. If someone constantly seeks reassurance but never takes action, they won't feed that cycle. They understand that true kindness isn't about keeping people weak. It's about showing them their own strength. This is why their kindness often goes unrecognized at first. People who are used to being babied or spoon-fed don't always appreciate a Sigma female's approach. They might see her as distant, unsympathetic, or even harsh. But later, when they realize how much they've grown because of her, they understand. She wasn't being cold. She was giving them something far more valuable than temporary comfort: independence. Sigma females believe that real empathy isn't about rescuing people. It's about making sure they never need to be rescued again. Instead of saying, "I'll always be here to save you," they say, "Let me show you how to save yourself." Instead of saying, "You can lean on me forever," they say, "I'll support you while you learn to stand on your own." This is what sets them apart. They refuse to be someone's emotional crutch or safety net. They will lift you up, guide you, and support you. But they will never let you stay helpless. Because the ultimate act of kindness isn't just helping someone. It's making sure they never have to ask for help again. Number 9. They are the last safe space in a ruthless world. The world is ruthless. Kindness is often seen as weakness. Empathy is mistaken for gullibility. And the moment someone senses your softness, they either try to take advantage of it or break it completely. Most people adapt by hardening themselves. They stop trusting, stop caring, and build walls so high that nothing, good or bad, can reach them. But Sigma females? They refuse to play that game. They are the last safe space in a world that teaches people to fend for themselves. While everyone else is busy guarding their hearts, a Sigma female remains open, not naive, not vulnerable, but unshaken. No matter how many times she's been hurt, betrayed, or abandoned, she never lets the world strip her of her essence. She remains a quiet sanctuary for those who have nowhere else to turn. And this is why, when things fall apart, people always come back to her. The same ones who once dismissed her kindness, who took her for granted, who thought they didn't need her. When life humbles them, when they realize how rare true understanding is, they seek her out. Not because she begs them to, not because she chases them, but because deep down they know. She's different. She doesn't offer fake sympathy or sugar-coated lies. She doesn't judge, even when people confess their worst mistakes. She simply exists as a place of emotional refuge, a person who listens, who understands, who won't exploit vulnerability or use someone's pain against them later. But here's the thing. Just because she's a safe space doesn't mean she's available to everyone. If someone has proven they can't respect her kindness, they don't get a second chance to misuse it. She is not a doormat, and she is not a therapist for those who refuse to help themselves. She will be there for the lost, the broken, the misunderstood, but only if they genuinely seek healing, not just a temporary escape. This is what makes her different. In a world that punishes softness, she remains strong without ever losing her soul, and that's why people always remember her, even long after she's gone. Number 10. They are unbreakable because they've already been broken. Sigma females aren't unbreakable because life has been kind to them. They're unbreakable because it hasn't. They've been tested, shattered, and left to pick up the pieces alone more times than they can count. And yet, here they stand. They know what it feels like to be betrayed by the ones they trusted most. They know the sting of giving everything to someone, only to be discarded the moment they're no longer needed. They've felt the crushing weight of being there for everyone, only to realize that when they needed help, no one was there for them. Most people, after experiencing that kind of pain, build walls. They shut down, stop caring, and let their bitterness consume them. But Sigma females, they rebuild. Not once, not twice, but every single time life tries to break them. They don't harden into something cold and unfeeling. They transform into something indestructible. This is why they can offer kindness without fear. They've already been used, taken for granted, and walked away from. They've already faced loneliness, betrayal, and heartbreak. There's nothing left to be afraid of. No amount of ingratitude or cruelty can destroy them, because they've already learned the ultimate truth. No one can truly break them except themselves, and they refuse to let that happen. Their resilience makes them dangerous in the best way possible. It gives them a rare kind of fearlessness. They don't need to manipulate, beg, or play mind games because they know that even if someone leaves, they will be fine. They aren't afraid to love because they've survived losing it. They aren't afraid to give because they've learned how to refill their own cup. They aren't afraid to be kind because they've already seen the worst in people and they chose to stay good anyway. And that is power. Not the loud, aggressive, attention-seeking kind, but the quiet, unshakable, unstoppable kind. The kind that makes people look at them and wonder, how the hell does she keep going? Simple. Because she's already been broken, and she put herself back together stronger than before. A Sigma female's kindness is not the kind that begs for recognition. It's not loud, performative, or self-serving. It doesn't seek applause and it doesn't demand loyalty. It simply is, unwavering, instinctive, and quietly powerful. She sees through people but doesn't shame them. She carries the weight of others' emotions but never lets it destroy her. She listens beyond words, understands beyond explanations, and offers support without creating dependency. The world has tested her, broken her, and left her to fend for herself, yet, rather than becoming bitter, she has become unshakable. Her kindness is not weakness. It is not naivete. It is a choice to remain soft in a hardened world, a choice to continue giving, even when no one gives back, a choice to be the last safe space for those who need it, without ever allowing herself to be used. And that is what makes her rare. Anyone can pretend to care, but a Sigma female truly feels. Anyone can offer help, but she teaches people how to stand on their own. Anyone can act kind, but she remains kind, even when no one is watching. So while the world may overlook her, take her for granted, or fail to understand her depth, it will never forget her, because true kindness, the kind that cannot be broken or manipulated, is the rarest thing of all, and that is exactly what she is. If this resonated with you, If you see the depth, strength, and rare kindness of a Sigma female in yourself or someone you know, then don't just scroll past. Hit that subscribe button and be part of a community that values truth, depth, and realness. Like this video if you believe the world needs more of this kind of energy. Comment below and tell us your thoughts. Do you relate? Have you met a Sigma female in your life? Let's talk about it. And most importantly, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because the more we understand and appreciate this rare type of person, the more we can create a world that values kindness, not as weakness, but as the unstoppable force it truly is. Subscribe now and stay tuned for more powerful content. We're just getting started.